She got the man. She got the keys. She got the bed. And the morning coffee. But she also got the silence. The vanishing hours. The questions that never had answers. And then she found the notebook. Not hers. Not new. Just familiar. Isabel from Hell's Kitchen, I won the man. Then I found out why she let him go. Series, 10 True Affair Stories from New York. The first night Isabel moved in, the apartment felt like a movie set. Soft jazz played from the vintage speaker Nathan loved to brag about. Candles flickered in curate corners. On the bathroom mirror, scrawled in his all-caps handwriting with a dry erase marker, "Welcome home." Her suitcase leaned unopened by the bedroom door, and still, she felt like she'd already been there for months. Nathan made it easy. He'd cleared drawers. Bought her oat milk. Switched the soap in the shower to the brand she preferred. For a moment, it felt like the beginning of something extraordinary. They ordered Thai food. Ate in bed. Fell asleep tangled in limbs and silence. For a while, it was sweet. He kissed her shoulder in the mornings. Called her baby without irony. Left voice notes when he had late meetings. The kind of love that came with playlists. But a few weeks later, the edges started to dull. It began with small things. A drawer that once held her hair ties now held receipts and an old key she'd never seen before. Her shampoo replaced with a brand she didn't use. Nathan began coming home without calling. Started saying "I thought I told you" when she asked about dinner plans or missed messages. He didn't yell. He didn't cheat. Not as far as she could prove. He just drifted. And when she reached for him he wasn't cold. He was hollow. The warmth stayed in the room, but not in his eyes. Isabel tried not to overthink it. She blamed her schedule. The weather. Even the furniture. She bought flowers. Rearranged the couch. Told herself transitions were always strange. But it wasn't the place. It was the rhythm. Nathan stopped answering questions with full sentences. When she asked, "Where are you going tonight?" he'd say, "Out." When she asked, "What are we doing this weekend?" he'd shrug, "Whatever." He started turning his phone face down on the table. Started sleeping with his back to her. Once, when she asked if everything was okay, he looked at her like she'd asked if the sky was still blue. "You're imagining things," he said. She nodded. Apologized. Told herself maybe she was. Isabel wasn't used to winning. She'd been the other woman, the girl in the wing, the whispered name in late-night texts. But Nathan had chosen her. Moved her in. Said, "I want to build with you." So why did it now feel like she was being slowly erased? She began to wake earlier. Made his coffee. Tied her hair the way he liked. Laughed at jokes that weren't funny just to fill the silence. But the silence grew anyway. One night, she made dinner his favorite. Pasta with lemon cream and thyme. She waited. Set the table. Lit candles. He came home at 11:14. No explanation. He ate a slice of cold bread. Said, You didn't have to wait. She smiled, said nothing, and then she cried in the shower. Quietly. Because the tiles didn't ask questions. That night, as Nathan slept, Isabel stared at the ceiling. Counted the turns in the ceiling fan. Thought about Eliza, the girl who'd left without fighting. The one Isabel had once considered weak. But now, lying next to Nathan's silence, she wondered if Eliza had seen this version of him too. If she hadn't lost. If she'd just left first. She wasn't looking for it. She had been reorganizing the living room, trying to make the space feel more hers. New throw pillows, a rug with color, something to break up the gray. Nathan was out again. Unexplained. Again. The notebook was wedged behind the radiator, barely visible, its cover warped slightly from heat and dust. At first she thought it might have been his, or old receipts, maybe even a sketchpad. But when she opened it, the first page said, in looping black ink, Eliza K. She froze. The same Eliza. The one who had quietly disappeared. The one Nathan never spoke of unless prompted, and even then, only in phrases like she wasn't happy or it just ran its course. Isabel turned the page. March 3rd, didn't come home until 2 a.m. No explanation. Turned off phone. March 7th, told me I was too emotional. Went silent for 36 hours. March 12th, found texts to someone labeled M. He said I was invading his space. Each entry was dated, brief, methodical. Not angry. Not tearful. Just logged. A record. As Isabel flipped through, the patterns began to hum in her chest. April 2nd, we argued. He left for a walk, came back at midnight. Smelled like her perfume. April 6th, he said he needed space, then left me waiting at dinner for over an hour. April 10th, he told me I make him feel like the bad guy when I ask questions. Isabel sat down on the floor. The hardwood felt too cold through her leggings. She turned back to her calendar. Checked her messages. Her call logs. She was living the same timeline. The missed calls. The 36-hour silences. The same cold phrases, recycled. You're too sensitive. You don't trust me? Why do you always make things dramatic? Eliza had been here. Not metaphorically. Literally. In this room. With these walls. And Nathan had rehearsed the same script. Isabel closed the notebook. Held it against her chest for a second, then opened it again. Began writing her own notes in the margins. June 14th, he left after a joke I made. Didn't return texts. Showed up 9 hours later with no explanation. June 18th, he said I needed to learn not to question everything. Then deleted his browser history. June 19th, I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the way I was sitting. Shoulders curled forward. Eyes blank. It wasn't rage. It wasn't heartbreak. It was recognition. She wasn't becoming Eliza. She had already become her. And now the question wasn't, does he love me? It was, why did I ever think I was different? She waited until he came home. It was past 10, and the Thai takeout had already gone cold on the counter. Nathan walked in without urgency, tossing his keys in a bowl, pulling off his jacket as if everything was normal. Isabel stood in the hallway. "We need to talk," she said. He didn't flinch. Just sighed. "About what now?" She showed him the notebook. Didn't say a word, just held it out. He didn't take it. "You went through my stuff," he said. "It's not yours," she replied quietly. "It's Eliza's. It was behind the radiator." Nathan looked at the notebook like it was ticking. He scoffed. "That's old. Ancient history. What are you doing, Isabel?" She looked at him. Really looked. "I'm asking if you see the pattern. You're being paranoid. You've been off lately. Emotional. Unstable. You read something and twist it into a conspiracy." She felt her stomach twist, but she nodded. "Right. Emotional. That's what she wrote, too." He shook his head and walked past her. "I can't do this every night." "You haven't done anything for 2 nights, she said. But he was already in the bedroom. The next morning, he was gone before she woke. No note. No text. Just silence. It lasted 2 days. 2 full days of nothing. Isabel didn't cry. She cleaned. She made lists. She stopped checking her phone. She opened the notebook again. Reread everything. On the 3rd morning, she pulled out a storage bin from under the bed, one Nathan never used. At the bottom, buried beneath a winter scarf and a broken umbrella, was a coat. Not hers. It was pale green, soft wool. She remembered seeing it once, draped on a hanger in old photos of Eliza. Without thinking, Isabel put it on. It was too big in the shoulders. Slightly frayed at the cuffs. Smelled faintly like rosemary and soap. She sat down in front of the mirror. The same mirror where Nathan had once written "Welcome home." Now it was blank. She studied herself. The coat didn't make her someone else. But the eyes in the reflection, they weren't hers. There was exhaustion in them. A dimness. The edge of apology for simply existing. She adjusted the collar. The mirror watched. And for the first time, Isabel didn't see a woman who had one. She saw someone disappearing by inches. Not from betrayal of the body, but from erosion of the mind. She whispered, "Stop," though there was no one in the room. Then, louder, "Stop." The echo didn't answer. But something in her did. She stood. Took off the coat. Folded it. Placed it by the door. She didn't know where she would go yet. But she knew where she wouldn't stay. She typed the message slowly, deliberately. No greeting. No apology. "I found it." She stared at it for a long moment before pressing send. The reply came 5 minutes later. "Then leave before he makes you forget who you were?" That was all. No name. No punctuation. Just truth. Isabel didn't cry. She didn't feel rage or sorrow. Only clarity, clean and quiet, like the final note of a song you hadn't realized was ending. She packed while Nathan was gone. He hadn't said where he was going. She hadn't asked. The apartment was still, the kind of stillness that comes after you've stopped trying to be heard. She didn't take the framed photos. Didn't take the jacket he bought her in Rome or the bracelet he gave her on their second month. She took her clothes, her notebooks, and the Eliza journal. She didn't leave a note. The silence was already loud enough. She placed the key on the kitchen table, next to the empty takeout containers and the unopened bottle of wine they were supposed to drink weeks ago. She didn't look back. Not when the door clicked shut. Not when her footsteps echoed down the hallway. Outside, the wind was sharp. The sky hung low, heavy with unshed rain. She walked slowly through Hell's Kitchen, the streets humming with their usual mix of heat, horns, and unsaid things. She stopped at an intersection. The light was red, but no cars came. Neon signs blinked across her skin. The city looked different now, less cinematic, more real. She held the notebook in one hand, clutched against her side like a map. Her other hand was empty, but steady. When the light turned green, she didn't rush. She crossed. Not towards someone. Not away from something. Just forward. And that was enough. She didn't shout. She didn't wait for him to come home. She didn't even pack everything. She just found what the last woman left behind. And realized. He hadn't changed. Only the name did. But in our final story, a woman from Harlem doesn't walk away. She doesn't cry. She doesn't burn the bridge. She stays. Not because she forgave him, but because she has one more move. And this time, he's not the only one keeping secrets. Stay with us for the final chapter of 10 True Affair Stories from New York. Because some endings are better delivered slowly.